What is up, crawlers? Welcome back to the Nightmare's Edge. I am so excited you guys could be here tonight. We are back with the third installment of the series on Nightmare's Edge, entitled Stay Tuned. It is getting just a bit crazy now. If you aren't aware, these stories are written by Paige Turner. Her info is in the description. Be sure to check out all of her socials. She has some amazing stories. But thank you, Paige, for writing this series. They are so much fun and also good. Also, a big shout out and a huge thank you to Lady Nobingham for making these amazing thumbnails. They are absolutely perfect. Lady N's info is also listed in the description. Be sure to follow her and sub to her channel as well. She is an amazing narrator. Now, without any further ado, sit back, relax, and let me tickle those inner fears. I hope all my night crawlers are feeling as good as I do this evening. The fact that we have 317 people in chat is mind-boggling enough. But if you would have told me we'd eventually hit 10k subs, even a year ago, I wouldn't have believed it. That being said, I wanted to offer a quick thank you to everyone, and a big welcome to our newcomers. It was also great to see a positive response to A Story of Strife. It's been a long time since I was that nervous about a premiere. But with the encouragement of family and friends, I decided to take a chance. Over the next few months, I'll see if we can get another one up. As for tonight, it's time for our live Sunday classic. This week, I've modernized The Monkey's Paw. It's one of my personal favorites, and it had hundreds of requests. Would you make a wish with the paw? Let me know in the comments. Since everyone is so eager to get started, here we go. What the fuck? Amber! For those of you who don't use Twitter, I'm sure you've been wondering just what the fuck. Me too. Oh, life is such a bitch, ain't she? To put it simply, Amber is dead. I'm now a widower. So. Yep. Those sounds were gunshots. Cameras caught the whole goddamn thing. The shooter was a man, tall, leather motorcycle outfit, huge black helmet with a visor. Still ain't got some bitch yet. I know what you're thinking, and Turner remains locked away, snug as a poisonous bug. But police are combing through her correspondence to see if she's involved. Apparently, she has a following of sickos who enjoyed her work. Had I known sharing my story would get her famous, I'd never, not for a million subs, not ever. Fucking bitch. Oh, and if you haven't noticed, I'm off the wagon. The wagon is fucking dead. I don't know when I'll post what, but since the boys are staying with my sister, I got drunk enough to tell you what happened that night. You'll remember the kids were visiting my parents in Florida? Thank goodness. And Amber was downstairs with a glass of wine and a movie, waiting for me to finish that stream. The bastard walked his bike down the driveway, opened fire in front of the house, then drove away. Monsters are real. Never doubt that. Eddie was upstairs in the hallway, waiting outside my door, and judging by the empty wine glass, we think Amber was probably going for a refill when it happened. The bullet tore through her chest, and she bled out onto the floor, right in front of me. Everything is a blur after that. I don't think I could remember if I tried. It's not like I was sober for any of it. Telling the boys was the worst thing I'll ever do in my life. That and the funeral. We must all endure planning a loved one's funeral at some point, but I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. So many tedious details, none of which matter. I am on the first name basis with police. Detective Andy and Juan are running the investigation. They're good men, but I lost hope of catching this prick early on. The dirt bike was abandoned in a parking lot across state line, but yielded no leads. Now, it's 2 weeks later. We still have no fingerprints, DNA, or suspects. I'd happily spend the rest of my life in jail if I could get my hands on Turner. That'll never happen. Bitch isn't even in the same state. I don't care what cops do or don't find. She is involved. You guys see that, right? I tell you, her lawyer tried to contact me on her behalf. Said she wanted to apologize. Ha! Damn it, Eddie. Well, that's it anyway. Oh, damn it, son of a bitch. Now you know. I'm not sure when I'll be back, but I'll update on Twitter in a few days. Hello, Nightcrawlers. I know it's early, but there are reasons for that. Number 1, thank you for your unwavering support and patience. Your condolences and well wishes have been an immeasurable comfort. Number 2, it's best to do this during school hours, for now, at least. Number 3, I want to be sober, and while I've been better since the boys came home, I still can't trust myself. Number 4, I have an update on the investigation. Lady Nobingham and Lily Liver spoke to a few friends, and now the online sleuthing community is investigating our case. These guys are A-class, and each one has solved multiple murders. Their channels are linked in the description. I hope you'll check them out. Honestly, at first I was upset, and the detectives were furious. You know how I feel about strangers poking around in my personal life. Plus, I was certain they wouldn't find anything. But then, they did. There's a moment when the asshole tilts his head to reveal a small neck tattoo, but we couldn't get a decent image. Sleuthscope Steve could. After a few days on the internet, someone emailed with a valid tip. Casey Devon and his girlfriend saw the same weird symbol on a busboy down in Kalamazoo. They were in a dive bar on the way home to Indiana and happened to see Steve's video the night before. What are the odds? Finally, something went our way. The detectives thanked Steve for his tip, but still wanted him off the case. I, on the other hand, was sold. I welcome and thank their community from the bottom of my dead, shredded heart. My renewed hope for catching this bastard has given me one more reason to wake up in the morning. Juan and Andy ran a background check on the man. Davey Richardson is a convicted felon who has worked at the Gorilla Grill for 2 years. They weren't eager to share more, but I learned he did 10 years for armed robbery and sexual assault. There was no parent correspondence between him or Paige, but that doesn't mean anything. Even if they didn't exchange letters, he could still have done it because of her. Like some kind of psychotic tribute. Since his release, he hasn't caused trouble. His parole officers consider him rehabilitated. But I really feel like this is the guy. I feel it in my bones. I think Eddie can sense it too. He's been in better spirits the last few days. His depression runs as deep as our own. Each night, he crawls onto her side of the bed, offering whimpering softly in his dreams. Just like Daddy. We aren't ashamed of our man cuddles. The nights are lonely, cold, and endless. Connor is still sleeping on the cot in Aiden's room. It's so hard to see them suffer. They're having terrible nightmares, but nothing seems to help. Sorry, I have a hard time staying on point these days. The detectives interviewed Davey. He prattled off a worthless alibi, but it only took 2 hours to tear it apart. At that point, they secured a search warrant. Unfortunately, no one was home. Like myself, you probably are surprised, but the plainclothes officers responsible for watching him were very surprised. This is not a friendly neighborhood where civilians are eager to help the police. The few who spoke only did so to further impede the investigation. That was 3 days ago, and no one has seen or heard from Davey since. With the help of Steve and his friends, there's hope he'll be spotted soon. We're fairly certain he fled the state, but the internet's reach is limitless. Eventually, he must show his face somewhere. Thanks again for taking the time to listen. If you can spare a moment to check out those links, we appreciate every share. You never know when it'll reach that one person who can help. Hopefully, I'll push you again soon. It feels weird to record offline, but I can't risk Turner hearing this, and I've come to rely on this outlet. I'm not sure when you'll really see this, but it's been 2 days since my last stream. I hope these don't become legitimate lost tapes, but if someone finds these years later, it's absolutely because I'm dead. It happened. She's out. She escaped. How the hell does someone escape a max security psych ward in real life? With help, for starters. It was Davey, right? It all lines up. It must be him. My first instinct was to ship the boys back to Florida, but what if she went there instead? I would be 2,000 miles away, completely useless. Why don't I go too, you ask? Thanks, great question. What happens when she follows us, and it gets my parents killed as well? When I'm finished here, we're going to a hotel, though it's only a temporary solution. The cheapest place that allows dogs is more than we can afford, but with help from family, we have the funds for a week's stay. If they don't find Turner before that, I don't know. I'll be watching the cameras nonstop, and some police officers will be inside, hopefully making it look like we're home. They even drove us to the hotel so both vehicles would be there. Now, you can see why I couldn't record live. Why can't this be over? Why can't we grieve in peace? Hasn't she taken enough from us? What's the price for not narrating a terrible story? I'd send her my own ear in a box if I thought it would appease her. If 2 boys weren't dependent on me, I would have broken long ago. Sometimes, I dream of disappearing into the forest when Connor graduates from college. Hopefully, this is my last non-live recording. It's been 3 days since the first part. They won't share specific details, but the detectives say they have reliable information that Turner and Richardson are laying low in San Francisco. FBI agents are in the area investigating further, and they're confident in deeming it safe for us to return home. Please excuse me while I chuckle at their assurances, but we're at least going to finish the week here. I would stay the extra nights regardless, but for the record, Steve and his fellow sleuths are less convinced of their whereabouts. They haven't found anything new, but they've already done more than I could ever thank them for. I'm just grateful they're still searching. One thing I can rest assured of is that I won't sleep a wink tonight. Each time the police leave, that witch bitch waltzes her crazy back into my life and she just fucking fucks it. Oops. I'll need to edit that one out. Jeez. It's easy to get carried away when no one's listening. I've never wanted to throat punch a bitch so bad. Fuck. Okay, get serious, man. You can't keep pulling this shit and expect to stay over 10K. Shake it off, fuckface. You got mouths to feed. Work leave only goes so far. If nothing happens, we'll go home in 2 days. Don't get me wrong, I hope like hell she is in California. But when have I been that lucky? Maybe if I kill myself, she'd leave the boys alone. Worth considering at least. I think it would cross any parent's mind, especially after losing a spouse. But I couldn't do that to them. They'd never forgive me. They might not forgive me as it is, and I can't blame them. It's my fault their mother is dead. Anyway, that's it for now. Hopefully you'll hear this in a few days. Good evening, night crawlers, has everyone had a chance to listen to the video I posted last night? On the bright side, they're officially not lost tapes. If you did see it, I'm sorry for forgetting the edits, but you'll understand why momentarily. If you didn't see it, we went to a hotel for a week, and please believe Paige and her goon are in California. Tonight, I mostly wanted to check in with everyone to say I recorded The Monkey's Paw. It'll be up in a few hours. The wait is over. I also wanted to share a little surprise we received in the mail yesterday. So many bills and condolence cards are piled up. I was ripping stuff open without looking. Then I found an old-fashioned ransom note. The letter spelled out "Stay tuned." I got you a picture. There was nothing else with it, and I called the police right away. They confirmed it was mailed from San Francisco, which only further proved their story. But I can't help feeling it wouldn't be that difficult to have a letter sent. Besides, she clearly has no issue crossing the country on a whim. Even if she is in California, that doesn't mean she plans to stay there. Sooner or later, she's going to come back, and we aren't capable of hiding indefinitely. She probably intends to make her little stories into a trilogy, but I guess we'll have to stay tuned to find out. Tell you what though, if she does send a new story, I'm gonna read every goddamn word. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed tonight's video. I'll push you later. It's really never gonna stop, is it? I know there should be a new story today, but I just couldn't. Thank you, lady. I'm so sorry all. This ruined our collaboration. I was really excited about our story. Hopefully, we'll have another chance to work together, but your video was amazing and I linked it in the details. As for tonight's stream, all I can tell you is what happened since we last spoke. The next night, I woke at 3 a.m. from a horrifying nightmare and couldn't fall back to sleep. In the dream, I got out of bed to look for Eddie and heard a strange noise upstairs. It was almost like a grandfather clock or a dog running on concrete, but softer, padded taps. The house was in complete darkness, and when the kitchen light failed to turn on, I realized we lost power. A bright flash of light illuminated the room for a split second, and a torrential downpour ensued as thunder shook the ground. I was only wearing boxers and didn't have my phone. Using the wall as a guide, I stumbled my way to the utility room. Another lightning crash cast an eerie blue shade onto everything, and I could see a flashlight on the shelf above the dryer. I even remember cursing as I stubbed my toe while trying to reach it. The beam was weak, but it allowed me to maneuver without the wall. I called for Eddie as I crossed the den and paused at the base of the stairs. That's when I heard the sounds again. Patters. That's the best word, and it's coming closer. I shone the light in time to see his shadow dart across the opening and into the hallway before stopping. It seemed too short to be a person, but too large to be a dog. I crept to the middle landing, shining the light in every direction, but saw nothing. All remained silent as I carefully continued my ascent, and the moment my foot touched the top step, the brightest flash of lightning yet revealed a brief glimpse of true horror. Have you ever been on one of those rides that drop you from high up, or fell from a great height while playing VR? You know that feeling when you lose your stomach. That's what I felt. I still remember it perfectly. It was Paige, but she was bent over in a backwards crab walk like some kind of exorcist bullshit. She was even paler than usual, and her eyes moved in different directions while saliva dripped from her mouth. I tried to scream, but no sound came out as she bum-rushed me from the darkness. The pattering was the last thing I heard as a tangle of bony limbs mowed me down, and rotten fingers wormed into my mouth while stepping across my face. When a heel pressed firmly into my manly bits, I finally woke. That dream bothered me enough to start sleeping in Connor's room while he's bunking with Aiden. I wanted to be closer to them. The thought of those stairs between us was driving me insane. I wish there was a way to express how real it all felt. This was beyond anything I have experienced, and I'm not exactly a rookie when it comes to nightmares. It hasn't faded like the others either. Now, with what happened last night, it's some sort of creepy forewarning. To avoid confusion, I think it's best to tell you everything in an order it occurred. At 3:08, the security footage shows one small person walking down the driveway in night vision goggles. Care to guess who? Do you have a clue? Yeah, fucking Turner. She had a laptop and did something to our security system. Even ADT can't figure it out. But they're so appalled by the footage, we're getting free service for a year. Honestly, that's going to be a huge help on our finances. That part is appreciated. Paige busted the basement window and crawled in without waking a soul. Once upstairs, she went straight to my bedroom like she's walked the path 1,000 times. To understand this next part, you need to know I have a body pillow in bed for particularly bad nights. My therapist recommended it. Turner stood over it, surely assuming it was me, and stabbed it. There was no hesitation. She just lifted a huge hunting knife above her head and mercilessly plunged it into my fake wife's chest. She immediately pulled the covers back to discover her folly. You can hear a few escaped giggles as she struggles to control her laughter. I find it more difficult to see the humor considering the strike was meant to end my life. I hate to be an edgy downer, but there it is. Next, she began climbing the stairs, and that's when Eddie started barking. They were his deep, danger barks. I was instantly awake on full alert. The boys did exactly as practiced and hid in the closet before dialing 911. While getting the gun, I saw Paige on the monitors, responding to the noise by sheathing her knife and retrieving her own firearm. At first, it was trained on Aiden's room. She seemed more afraid of the dog than me, but upon hearing my movements, she became indecisive. Just as I was ready to confront Turner, I noticed she had her laptop open again. This time, she watched it while pointing her weapon at Connor's door. She was looking at me through our cameras, using them to aim. I dove to the side, fearing the bullet would come at any moment. But the only shots fired were to our cameras. I held my breath waiting for the sound of Eddie's whimper, but the barking continued unimpeded, and I shook with relief. After sitting up, I noticed several screens were blank. She didn't want me to see which way she went. Thankfully, ADT has also agreed to replace the destroyed cameras. I've never been at such a loss for what to do. I wanted to give chase, but if a gun was trained on the door, waiting for me to open it, only a few more shots would remove Eddie from the equation and leave the boys defenseless. It was too risky. On the other hand, she knew help was on the way and couldn't afford to wait long. These thoughts battled each other in my mind until the blue flashing lights recalled me to reality. Officer Davis was first on the scene, again, Juan and Andy close behind, but there was no sign of Turner. I hate questioning good fortune, but why didn't she shoot Eddie? Obviously, I'm grateful, but it seems like a tactical choice from her perspective. When she had the gun pointed low at Aiden's door, tears instantly streamed down my face because I knew what was coming. But it didn't happen. Like I said, I'm not complaining. The police are back and the FBI has joined them. We finally feel a little safer. Hopefully, we can actually get some sleep tonight. Anyways, I'll try to get another story ready for Sunday, but it won't be a classic. Sorry again for the delay. Push you next time. Hello, Nightcrawlers. It's good to see our numbers back over 300. I have a long way to go before things can be on a strict schedule again, but for now, we can try to make weekly uploads. Magic Mortimer is ready to go live as soon as we're finished here, and since there's new information to share, I decided not to premiere it. Some of you may already know what I'm going to say if you watch the news, but don't spoil it for others. Having something good to share is such a rare treat. Whatever Paige did to hack our ADT got the government's attention in a serious way. This time, the police didn't leave. They're rotating 2 teams of local and state police on 12-hour shifts, and a team of FBI agents are supervising around the clock. Having so many people in the house would normally make me anxious, but there's been a few nights where I've actually slept. The police and cyber sleuth community are officially in agreement that Richardson and Turner never had direct contact before this happened. As far as anyone can tell, Davey learned about her through my channel and became obsessed. You know how storage buildings put up your shit for auction if you don't pay the bill? Davey had one of those under an alias, and it was auctioned 2 nights ago. The buyers recognized the fugitive from the news and old photos and called the cops. There were love poems and fan art clearly dedicated to Paige, but it didn't match the handwriting of anything Turner actually received. I haven't personally seen any of these items, but from how they're referred to amongst the officers, they sound as disturbing as you imagine. Maybe more so. The unit was overflowing with random garbage, but one of the most important clues turned out to be an old date book. It held many useful tidbits. So far, 4 cold cases have been solved with its help. It also contained the address of a man named Marv, who coincidentally lived not 30 minutes away from me if you could drive straight through the forest. On the road, it's closer to an hour. Considering the storage facility was located in Ohio, the feds thought it worth a look. Marvin Daniels died 5 years ago, and his shack has been rotting away in the middle of the woods ever since. 3 agents drove out there, expecting to find nothing, but a fresh deer carcass hanging in a nearby tree indicated someone was living there. Shots were fired before they could make it to the door, forcing the men to retreat and call for backup before initiating further contact. Miraculously, no one was injured in the clash, and Richardson ceased fire when the SUV was no longer in sight. After a 5-hour standoff, tear gas was shot into the shack, and Davey emerged, weapons blazing. His official cause of death is suicide by cop, and since no agents were injured, I'm not ashamed to feel gleeful at the bastard's death. I only wish it were slower. Every inch of the surrounding area was searched, but the best trackers couldn't find Turner. We know she was there at some point because they found more witchy idols and another voodoo altar made from bones. They're still trying to identify the human remains, but the severed head was a male's. A fishing pole stood mounted on the wall with a decomposing skull on its hook, and a severed hand was secured to the reel. There were also 2 small hot bombs. Experts believe they were designed to be attached to an animal and remotely detonated. I won't rest easy until Paige is dead, but for tonight, I choose to focus on the fact that my wife's murderer is gone, and that there are 2 bombs that can no longer harm our family. If you want to see the pictures of the evidence, I've linked Steve's newest video below. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy Magic Mortimer. Thanks for listening. I'll push you later. Hey crawlers, judging by how many are here, you've probably figured out that a surprise stream means something big happened. I'll give Turner one thing. The bitch has infinite patience. She was never going to show herself while the feds were here. Finding the storage unit was a fluke. She had every intention of laying low until we were alone, and her goon's death wasn't going to change that. Finally, the agents agreed with me. Coordinating a loud, flashy departure of all personnel and vehicles was more complicated than it sounds. It couldn't be too obvious. Paige might be batshit crazy, but she isn't stupid. Dozens of boxes were carried to the SUVs, but each one was empty. All the equipment remained in place, and a team of special agents watched for any attempts to hack the Wi-Fi. First, the feds cleared out. Then the rest trickled away that evening, until only Juan and Andy remained. We took the opportunity to move their car into the garage. While the others lurked nearby, we waited for the cover of darkness to sneak the boys out in Andy's stead. Aiden is almost 17 now, and tall for his age. With Connor lying in the back, it would appear as if both detectives left. I didn't want to wait for her to come to us. The invasion of our family's home was vomit-inducing, but it was our only option. The hope was to capture Turner before she came close enough to fire a weapon. The curtains were closed, and we stayed away from the windows for an added precaution. At 2:28 a.m., she made her move. Andy's phone rang, and we learned something with green and red lights flew over the house and was now hovering above us. It remained still for roughly 30 seconds before shooting straight up and out of sight. We believed she was scouting the location, confirming the coast was clear. It made perfect sense. We had no idea what was happening as we heard reports of the drone's collision course. It raced towards us at top speed and crashed into Connor's window. The glass shattered and it exploded on impact. Had anyone occupied the room at the time, they would have died. Or, had the device flown in the middle of the room instead of being stopped by an entertainment center, the entire house might have burned down. The smoke detectors wailed into the night while fire and rescue trucks rushed to the scene. Once again, their flashing lights creating a false daylight as they surrounded my home. The range for her to operate the drone was limited. Search teams scoured the area, confident of success, but I knew they wouldn't find her. After being cleared by paramedics, they wanted me to join the boys at the safe house, but I needed it to be over. She almost burned down our family home. It needed weeks of repairs before we could go upstairs at all. I didn't even have a gun, just a hunting knife I'd been keeping on my belt, but I snuck off anyway. I knew she wouldn't be too far. She couldn't miss the show, and I feel like she's one of those people who must watch her fires burn. First, I crept towards the backside of the house where the trees are most dense, always scanning the area ahead before proceeding. Hesitating at an extremely dark patch where the lights didn't reach, I hunched even lower and crawled my way across, knife in hand. Seconds later, the snap of a twig from above froze me in place. Looking up, I saw nothing but an empty tree, and a soft scratching sound baffled me until my eyes began to blur. Then, the bark moved. It was only a few seconds, but it felt like an eternity while trying to discern the shape. After finally understanding what I saw, I screamed. It was Paige, upside down, hugging the tree, and wearing the most realistic bark camo I'd ever seen. She even had a face mask and brown painted eyelids. She looked like a real-life cryptid. It takes the term nightmare's fuel to a new level. When I started to scream, she just dropped. Our heads connected first, and we fell to the ground in a painful tangle of limbs. I continued screaming like a woman while she cackled maniacally. My head ached and spots danced in my vision. I lashed out with the knife and felt the satisfying rip of flesh before succumbing to unconsciousness. The last thing I heard was her furious screams being drowned in gunfire. Upon waking in the ambulance, I learned Turner escaped and tuned the rest out, but a muddy footprint tells me I took a boot to the face as she fled. Her blood was all over me. Though we aren't sure where I stabbed her, the CSI guy said it's not enough blood loss to kill her, but she's definitely hurting. She'll probably see it as one more scar for the collection. I wonder if she even feels pain. Back at the safe house, I found a note in my pocket when changing clothes. This one said, "I wouldn't kill a dog for no reason, jackass. I'm not a monster." Fuck that bitch. We haven't decided what to do next, but I'll try and update you about a new video soon. Push you later. I know. A next day surprise stream means it's huge. Well, sort of. This is just going to be a short and sweet update. The feds got a call from a hospital 4 hours away. We now have surveillance footage confirming Turner was there. She ducked out before authorities could be contacted, but she did receive treatment for the stab wound. Apparently, my knife went into her mouth and tore through her cheek. She has half a Joker smile now. I'm not sure how I feel. Part of me is happy for any suffering I can repay, but another part is extremely disturbed about disfiguring a woman's face. That probably sounds strange considering I shot her twice now. And yes, I do wish she were dead, but I was trying to protect my family. This was close up and personal. It feels sadistic, but it was an accident. I only meant to kill her. Ugh, I'm making this sound even worse. The important thing is, we all know that injury will do nothing to sway her actions. She'll come after me harder than ever, and all I can do is wait. While we're here anyway, there will be a story on Sunday called Periwinkle. I used a blanket fort like those good old days, but I'm ready to go home. The safe house is cramped and has a funny smell we can't get rid of. That's all for now. See? Short and sweet. Push you later. Nightcrawlers, it is a new dawn of a new age. No one is here, but I don't care. This news can't wait another second. If you haven't heard, ding dong motherfuckers, the bitch is dead. Hell, even the good boy is celebrating with his own rack of ribs. Unfortunately, it's a somber day as well. Good men died while protecting my family, and that is a debt one can never repay. It isn't much, but I have started a fundraiser for the grieving families. The links can be found below. I don't know how she found us, but yesterday morning, a drone flew 2 circles around our safe house before disappearing into the sunrise. Snipers were put on alert and reinforcements were called in, but nothing more happened until 2 p.m. when a loud Ford pickup stopped in the middle of the street. Silently, we watched a small woman hop out of the passenger side and wave goodbye as the driver continued on his way. Paige fucking Turner hitched a ride to our safe house, wearing a clumpy winter coat and a bloody patch across her face. Somehow, she looked more terrifying each time I saw her. Halfway to the door, she was met with 2 agents yelling for her to get on the ground. Slowly, she raised her hands. The right was curled around a small object. The left revealed a bomb strapped to her torso. The item she held was a dead man's switch. They didn't know if it was enough explosives to blow up a house or a street, but all attempts to stop her failed. Juan and Andy tried to get us through the back door before she made it inside, but she caught us in the kitchen. She ignored the officers completely and removed her coat. We collectively held our breaths as it slipped over the detonator and onto the ground. Next, she removed her bandage to show her angry, red smile. I know, Joker smiles are overdone and creepy in our community, but shit. I think half of one looks so much scarier, especially in real life. If, and only if, you have a strong stomach, you can find a picture from the hospital footage, but I doubt it exists anywhere else. There certainly won't be any new ones. Eddie was losing his mind when we locked him in the bathroom. I thought he was going to break the door. Paige held our full attention, but had only one goal. After removing the gun, she threw her bag to me. Inside was the story. Stay tuned. She must have felt invincible at that moment. The only thing she cared about was forcing me to make a video. Everyone else was mere distraction. She wanted us to be alone to record in peace and didn't seem to care what would happen after that. I was just happy to see the boys taken away. A heavy weight was lifted at the sight of them driving away with an agent. The detectives were walking out of the door when she stopped them. A sudden suspicion changed her mind. As if hearing my thoughts, she worried I would try something if we were left alone. My choices were few at that point, so I began recording. It's a little strange though. Seriously, think about it. Turner was obviously a very intelligent, capable person, but she wrote like a grade schooler. It didn't matter. I was on page 3 when they grabbed her. Juan had one arm around her neck and a death grip on her left arm. Andy threw himself onto her lap and both hands clamped onto her right, securing the detonator. They screamed in unison for me to fetch reinforcements, and that's exactly what I did. Paige cursed me in a language I didn't recognize while struggling against the detectives, but I never spared her a glance. Once outside, the officer in charge escorted me past the barricades as the SWAT team prepared to enter. Their lead man was only a few feet away from the door when the house exploded. Andy and Juan were the only fatalities, but there were dozens of injuries. The only ray of light in this abysmal pit of darkness is the fact that Turner is finally dead. I feel I can finally grieve for Amber properly now. From here on, this will be a new start for our family, and I hope you know that includes my Nightcrawlers. Periwinkle is still ready for tomorrow, but after that, I'd like to resume our regular schedule. Also, please don't forget to take a look at those links. That's it for now. I can't wait to push you tomorrow. Hey, Crawlers of Night. I know it's been a long time since an unscheduled stream, but don't worry, it's nothing major. I just wanted to address these ridiculous pictures going around, mainly to assure you all it isn't me. I'm not sure who is photoshopping pictures of the bitch and all my stuff, but it's getting old. They're trying to make it look like she's still alive. The artist clearly wanted her face to appear healed, but the fake scar is a red, jagged mess. I am a reasonable guy, and there's a chance you meant well. After all, this is a horror channel. So if you stop now, there's no hard feelings. I mean, props on your work and everything. The way you started off with just her face in the background, and then brought her closer in each picture, is a nice touch. If this wasn't such a horribly traumatic experience for me, I might even use some. While yes, the scar was obviously bogus, it's a perfect score of the creepy meter, especially paired with the dark circles beneath her eyes. Basically, this is a thanks, but fuck no. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Take care, everyone. I'll push you Sunday. Paige effin' Turner. She is a perfect villain. Amber will always be in my heart. She was a good wife and an even better mother. Alright, thank you guys so much for being here. I cannot express how much it means. I appreciate each and every one of you. You guys make these premieres so much fun. With that being said, remember, just because you couldn't see it, doesn't mean it wasn't watching you.